Hey, Gina, welcome back. First of all, I'd like you to just give us your thoughts going into this fight. We spoke to Rachel earlier. She said her back is against the wall. She says this could be her last UFC fight if she loses. How do you feel going into it, and do you think that's going to have any impact on how things play out in the octagon?
It's actually really funny you say that because I felt that my last fight when I my last fight. But this one I genuinely this is me in a new weight class, coming down from 135. I genuinely feel like this isn't even close to the end. I really feel like this is just the new beginning. I moved gyms, I moved states, I moved coaches. I'm training with, in my opinion, with one of the best coaches in the world, James Krause, and I just feel like there's nothing but up from here. But I think it's also I feel extremely prepared for this fight. But yeah, I feel great going into this fight.
What's the transition down the flyweight been like, and how are you feeling coming into fight week here?
I'm hungry. I'm just kidding. Um, it's been quite a transition in the sense of like I just really had to clean up my diet. I was on, I'll call it like a strict diet for the past 10 weeks. And just was on a heavy training schedule. When I came there, James Krause put me on a pretty crazy schedule that I don't think a lot of people could handle. Um, like there were some days where I'd be training 4 times a day. I'd have 4 sessions a day. I have at least five. I my training schedule is just so heavy. So it's yeah. I'm sorry. I kind of spaced on the question. I'm really
No
sorry.
worries. It was about how you felt at flyweight. Don't feel bad. Derek Lewis said he's hungry too.
Yeah, no, okay, no, yeah. I feel great at flyweight. It's cool because I like the dieting was obviously sucks because I love food. Who doesn't love food? Um, but I felt like as I've gotten smaller, I just feel faster and I feel like I'm throwing a lot quicker and I still feel strong. Like I from when I first got there and I was weighing around 155, 150 pounds. I'm now doing better against the people I was grappling with like near before I left. So, and I'm 15, 20 pounds smaller. So it's so far so good. I feel like the flyweight division will be my home, and I intend on doing well, and I intend on staying here, and we'll see.
And I just want to talk about your camp a little. You hinted at it a bit with James putting you on a tough schedule, but how do you prepare for an opponent who's been out for well over a year, like Rachel has been?
I this is something I changed a lot of things in this camp because obviously what I was doing before wasn't working. Um, so how I prepare for someone like that is I you just have to I have to focus on myself. I have to focus. I have to just be ready for anything. I know she's a good wrestler and she's tough and she's durable. So I focus on myself. I'm pretty tough and I'm pretty durable. My I feel like my wrestling's really improved. I feel like my striking's through the roof and um, yeah, I just focus on myself, and if I go out there and I perform on Saturday like I believe I will, then I think it'll be my night.
All right, and last one for me. A few years ago, I think, or maybe a year ago, we spoke to you, and you mentioned using meditation as part of your preparation. Is that something you still do?
Yeah, actually. Well, so the big thing is when before when I was at 35, I could like, if you can't sleep, you get up and eat a couple snacks and stuff. But like now I have to go to bed on like an empty growly tummy, which is fine. And so but it's actually I've gotten used to it. And then I'll I'll like before I go to bed, I'll meditate in the evening, and it helps me go to sleep. So that's been pretty amazing. Um, but I used to meditate a ton during the day, but honestly, I'm so busy training, and taking care and helping with my family and stuff. So I don't have that much time for it. But in the evenings, I still meditate. Yeah, for sure.
Cool stuff. Well, looking forward to the payoff this weekend.
Thank you so much. I am as well. Appreciate it.
We'll take our next question from Jim Versalone with the Miami Herald.
Thank you. I'm curious because you mentioned you made a lot of changes. I guess you didn't like the direction, obviously, the career was going, wins and losses. How did you come about deciding on a coach and what to do and go through that process of just, okay, this is where I want to be. He's the person or she's the person I want to be the one training me?
So, with this so what initially happened was my fiance Tim Elliott got a fight to fight Ryan Benoit, and it was like a 3 weeks notice fight. The first thing that Tim always did, because he started his career with James Krause, and he started he started he got in the UFC with James Krause, and every time we get a fight, we always forward it to James and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And James loved the fight. He absolutely loved the fight and said that he wanted, wanted to help him out and coach him, whatever. And so we packed up our car and we drove down to Missouri with our dog and all of our stuff. And we get there and Tim put on a hardcore, as much, he packed as much as he could in 2 weeks. And I just saw what James did for him and just the way he coached and the way he got him through tough situations in the fight. It was a no-brainer for me to make that transition to make him my head coach. And with that, we had to move to Missouri, which, the weather isn't the best there. But it was worth it. Like, if we can start winning some fights, then it's well worth it. But just how he is as a coach, how he's I feel like he covers all angles of it. Like, when I first came to James, and anyway, so when when James, after my last fight, James mentioned to Tim, he's like, hey, I just need Gina. Just give me Gina for 2 months. I just need her for 2 months. Like, let's see what we can do. And James kind of took all the thinking process out for me. He was just like, hey, here's your schedule. This is what you're doing. This is your nutritionist. Just do it, and we're going to be successful. And he's like, and if you're not confident in yourself, just put all your confidence in me. And so I did that. And I think it's going to pay off. I feel more confident than ever. I feel like I always come in fight week kind of confident, but I'm also like kind of nervous on the back. And you're always going to be nervous. You're getting in a fist fight in a cage, for goodness sakes. But yeah, he put all the questions out. He put all like the guessing game. Like, anytime I was having a freak out mode, he would call me. I never had a coach just like call me and put me on the spot, and talk me off a ledge. And he's been fantastic. So yeah, a lot of big changes, and honestly, wasn't easy. I would call it definitely my hardest fight camp in my entire career. But like I said, I think it's going to be well worth it.
You mentioned moving to Missouri. You're from Alaska, so it can't be that bad, right?
Come on now. Well, okay. Yeah,
Well,
I
weather-wise.
like that. Yeah, but I'm also dropping weight class, so my bear fat is going down, you
Oh.
know. But it's really not that bad. Missouri, Kansas City, it's beautiful, and the people there are fantastic. Like, my team, I'm so grateful for my team. I feel like I'm going to this fight with, like, not only just me and my man and my coach, but like my whole team's behind me. Like, it just feels, everyone's cool there. That Midwest love, it's yeah, Missouri. It's great.
All right, thank you much. All the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Our next question is from Dane Martin with MMA Fighting.
Hey, Gina. You mentioned going down to flyweight for this fight. Obviously, that is a weight cut and things like that. Did you ever feel like undersized or overpowered at all at bantamweight? Because you do hear that a lot from fighters who make the weight cut. They say, "Wow, I never realized like how much I was giving up by fighting in a bigger weight class."
Yeah, and I really think I'm gonna find out a lot more on Saturday. But yeah, honestly, a lot of times the girls that are fighting at 135 walk around like 160, sometimes 170 pounds. And for me, when I was fighting at 35, max I would walk around 155, 150. Um, and and then, like, with the training schedule I was on, like, my weight just started coming down, and James Krause told me to make the decisions to go down to 125, and so I did it. But yeah, I felt like I'm only 5'6" on a good day, so all the girls in 125, like, this is the first, I don't remember the last time I fought somebody shorter than me. Like, to me, that's so cool. I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I think making the sacrifice and dieting and stuff is just going to be worth it, to be able to perform at just like the best I can possibly do.
Once you get in the UFC, there's really not a lot of, room to grow in terms of expectations. Because once you're in the UFC, you're in the biggest league in the world, and you win a fight, and it's an amazing moment. You lose a fight, and people are kind of down on you. But do you kind of have to remind yourself sometimes that you literally are kind of growing up in the UFC? Like you came to the UFC with only 4 fights, and like now you have more fights in the UFC than you actually had before you even got here.
Isn't that crazy? I never thought about that like that. Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, man, I took a pretty rough road coming to the UFC. Like my first fight was against Sarah McMahon, the number 7, a silver Olympic medal wrestler. Like that's crazy. And not to mention I had to cut about, was it 27 pounds in 16 days. Like but I really believed in myself, and but I'm just so grateful that I'm in the situation that I'm in where I'm continuously growing. Um, and honestly, today is actually marks 3 years ago since my last UFC win when I fought in China. So this weekend is like super special and really important to me because I haven't given up. The goal stayed the same. You know, I fought on like smaller shows like King of the Cage and stuff since I got fired the last time. But I just never stopped. And I just never stopped coming forward. So I'm cool with growing up in the UFC, and I'm grateful that they have me. I'm grateful that they still want me, and I know that this weekend I'm going to show that this is why they want me, and this is why I'm still here. That they're yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I'm grateful that UFC still wants me because I still want them.
I know you talked a lot about working with James, and James is a very humble guy. He rarely talks about himself in terms of like his coaching and things, but we see the results coming out of the gym. And I know, I'm not trying to ask you to say bad things about your former team and where you worked at Extreme Couture and places like that, but do you feel like finding James as a head coach is maybe like the difference maker in your career? Because you hear that from a lot of people who work with him, that he is that kind of coach, even though he doesn't tout himself like that. You'll never hear him say he's like the greatest coach in the world, but you hear from his students that he is like one of the greatest coaches in the world.
James is fantastic, and the thing is like everybody's different, and everybody needs something different. I'm personally, I mean, first of all, I'm a female. Females, like, we have emotions and we cry and like we're kind of I'm a little bit of a head case, I'll admit it, and that's okay. But the thing is that a lot of times coaches and people they don't want those problems because there's other people that are in Vegas that are, down to fight, down to make weight, but they're a lot less maintenance. But I was a little bit more maintenance, I'll admit it. But James is up for the challenge, and that's what I love about James is that he knew he knew what he was getting himself into, and he was stoked about it. And I think the product that he's producing with me is turning out successful. Is going to be successful. Um, but yeah, I like, I love my guys Extreme Couture, and I was at 10th Planet, and all them. But I just needed a different coach, a different support system. It just wasn't cutting it for me. But like now I feel more prepared than I ever have. But yeah, I think he's a great coach for me. But like I said, everyone's different, and some people don't want their coach, calling them at 8 o'clock at night when they're freaking out, or some people don't want their coach holding them accountable for missing a practice. Like James will hold you accountable, and he will call you out. Like he yeah, he holds me accountable, and that's what I need.
Last one for me on that side. We talk a lot about the physicality of this, cutting down weight, working with your new coach, working with your new team, but mentally, it sounds like you're in a really good place, working with James and having, this kind of positivity. Would you say mentally you're really strong going into this fight?
Yeah, like I said, like I always try to come into fight week confident and mentally strong, but then there's always those like butterflies in the back. But I feel like before my butterflies are in the back with like little knives and being like, oh, you're so nervous. But now my butterflies are like, okay, like we just know that we're going into a fist fight, and yeah, I feel like a big part of it has to do with like I'm surrounding myself with people who have been in similar situations that I'm putting myself in. It's like I like James knows that it's what it's like to be nervous. Like Tim knows what it's like to be nervous for a fight, or to compete. So it's yeah, I feel really mentally good for this, and God, it feels so good, and it's almost kind of scary how good I feel. But then again, I have to. My fiance reminds me all the time, like, hey, remember what you put yourself through for the past 15 weeks. In the past 15 weeks, I was on this crazy schedule that James put me on. The past 10 weeks, I was on this crazy diet that my nutritionist put me on, Tyler Minton. And, well, not crazy, but like, I just was very strict, and I held myself accountable, and I did everything they said. I literally prepare. I prepared in every way possible. So it feels good. It feels good when you know that I can look back and be like, I didn't cheat anything. I didn't, I didn't eat ice cream on the weekends. I didn't go out partying on the weekends. I was 100% just true to myself and trained my butt off. And you guys are going to see on Saturday all the work I put in.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
We'll take our next set of questions from Gabriel Gonzalez with Stateside Press.
Hello, Gina. You've kind of touched on this pretty much throughout this interview, but I want to ask it. With the situation when you came back, because you took the fight with Julia on short notice, it was obviously your comeback fight to the UFC. You'd been cut recently. Just what are the emotions that you go through with that? Because obviously, one is short notice, so you do get a bit of leeway, but still, you're looking to make this your second run. Can you just talk about the emotions you went through for that?
Oh man, where do I start? So when I first got cut from the UFC, I didn't really know I was cut for about 6 months. My current management at the time didn't let me know really. And then I signed with Iridium with Jason House and sat down with him and talked to him about it. And he told me just to get on some small shows, and then we're gonna get back in there. It's probably gonna be a short notice. It probably won't be ideal, or it might not be ideal, but we gotta do what we gotta do. So anyway, so that happened. I took the fight with Julia, and I really thought, that would have been a good fight. And I got hit with the body shot, and I just wasn't, it wasn't my night. So the emotions going into all that, it's just very up and down. But one thing Tim always reminds me is that the goal stays the same. The goal stays the same, and I haven't trained for the past 12 years to not be successful in this. Um, it's been a lot of emotions, and especially dropping to 125 has been kind of crazy for me and really tough on me, my body, and like mentally. And but now coming into fight week, I feel prepared. I feel mentally prepared. I feel durable. I feel tough. I just feel ready. And so it's one of those things where it's like you look back and you're like, man, I really I don't really regret working my butt off. I don't regret that. However, I would have regretted if I would have just partied or like went like this with my fight career. But instead, I took this as an opportunity to make up for my losses and all the times I cried and was upset. So yeah, there's a lot of emotions, but it's all worth it. I'm grateful for everything that's happened. It's all leading me to here. So, and currently I'm undefeated at 125. So
That's
we'll
a
see.
That's a very important thing to note. Were you confident that they would give you another fight with the full camp? Because it is typical that they do, but it's not guaranteed, obviously. Were you ever worried that, like, I couldn't deliver on the shot they gave me to come back? That might be it.
I'm gonna have to give a big shout out to my manager Jason House with Iridium. Um, he he does all that for me. He takes the mind workout for me, and also James. Him and James are homies, so it works out. But yeah, I've always been like, oh, I'm prepared for short notice fight, this and that. But I'm super grateful to have a full camp. So yeah, I mean, in a way, I would be kind of nervous, but I knew, like, I was like, oh, I'm always gonna be ready. I'm always gonna be training, so I'll just be ready for anything. But yeah, to have this much notice is awesome, and um, I think it's gonna look like I had a 15-week fight camp when I come out there on Saturday. So you guys will see.
Final question. You know that it's going to be on television. You know this interview goes out to all the outlets. So how did you pick out to go 50-50 with the violet for fight week instead of another color?
This is my dark side. No, I don't know. I want to switch it up. I'm in a new weight class. New Gina Bear. Like, gotta keep a little that pink flair because it's me. But yeah, I just something new, something different. Like new weight class, new walkout song, new fight. Like I'm changing it all up. New coach, new state. Like I'm changing it up.
Looks great. Good luck.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for you today, Gina. Thank you.
Thank you guys.